Is your hate for me stronger than your love for your children? My grandchildren, I have 7. They start at 10 and they go down to 6 months old. My oldest 5 grandchildren, I have been in their lives for 10 years. There has been times where for months at a time, we're no contact, then we go back, estranged, then we reconcile and we go back. So these kids have been yo-yoed. They've been allowed to be in my life, where they've slept over, where I've attended and been present for every holiday, every birthday. We had a very good relationship. Every time we reconciled, the kids and I go back to the relationship that we had before, never missing a beat. So now we're no contact again. So what do these kids think? Do they think that I've abandoned them? Do they think that they've done something wrong, that they can't see me anymore? What are estranged children telling their children about why they can no longer see their grandparents? Grandparents that have been very involved. Grandparents who have never treated their grandchildren badly. I've never spoken a bad word about my son or my daughter-in-law to my grandkids. Never. Not once. I have 3 step-grandchildren who I'm still Gigi to, who I have accepted and loved with all my heart. I've never felt any differently towards them. I would love nothing more than to have a relationship with my grandchildren. Now, I have estranged children telling me not to send birthday gifts, not to make any attempted contact with my grandkids. So what's going to happen when they get older and they realize that I wasn't a bad person and that I wasn't a bad grandparent? Who do you think they're going to blame? I don't think they're going to blame me. I think that they're going to have abandonment issues and resentment towards their parents because they've kept them away from grandparents who love them. Grandparents who are able to give them love. There's no such thing as a child having too much love. So when you're keeping your children away from good grandparents, is it that your hate for me is stronger than your love for your children? I'm just wondering what you're telling your children about grandparents who have been good to your kids.
Okay, so let's unpack that video. Do you know what she never said in there? I would love to have a relationship with my adult children. I was good to my adult children. We were in a good relationship. She's very focused on her grandchildren. There isn't much being said around what the breakdowns in the relationships were. It was all, you're taking me away from my grandchildren. I have not watched any of this creator's content. I do not know the backstory, and I'm going to make this video on the blind, and I'll probably go back over and watch her content a little, and I might even make another video for her as well. I don't know, or about her for her. It's kind of mixed together because as somebody who is an estranged adult child, I have been for over 30 years. I went no contact when I was in the early stages of my own motherhood. So my oldest daughter at that time would have been around 6 years old. My son was a little over 2. My youngest daughter wasn't born yet. My own eldest daughter, and it's going to relate to this video right here, actually, this creator. She was attached to my mother. She was bonded to my mother. When I went no contact with her, she had a relationship with my mother, and then she didn't have a relationship with me around the same time. And then she did have a relationship with me, and we've healed that relationship. We've been fine for over 20 years. Our estrangement lasted, I guess, a couple of years. I haven't really thought about the time of it. It felt like dog years. And that relationship is solid. So I've been on both sides of the track. I'm not coming in with heat and heart and division and all of those things. I am coming in to talk about it though. And I want people to pay attention to sometimes what isn't said For example, I have worked on my healing. I've worked to heal the relationship with my adult children. No, the only thing she says in reference that I can recall, because sometimes I watch these videos and I flake out a little bit, not because I'm not listening, it's just a lot of information in there for me to decide what I'm going to address. And I've watched this twice. So once as I'm listening to it on this video, and once, which is where it caught my attention. She's saying, I never, disparaged the parents to the children. Just because you didn't say certain words doesn't mean that you didn't treat them in a way that was undermining. Listen to what isn't said. Now let's listen to what is said. The arrogance and the overimportance of her role in these children's lives, because she's been in and out of their lives over the years, and the repercussions that the parents are going to suffer because the parents took the grandparents away. Well, if you behaved in a way that was role modeling good, safe, healthy behavior, you wouldn't be out of the picture. So who took who away? Ask that question of yourself. It sounds to me like your adult children were trying to maintain a relationship with you, and there was a breakdown that continued to occur. And I bet you the change in behavior that they needed from you wasn't happening, and their tolerance for that lack of change was diminishing over time. And they had to come to a place where they made a decision for what was best for their family, for their being able to parent their children in what they deemed to be a healthy environment. So all this to be said, as somebody who went in and out of a relationship with my mother the first 6 years of my oldest daughter's life, my mother didn't like my son, didn't care about my son. He was a little baby and she just liked him. She treated my daughter as the golden child, and that left a mark on my daughter at the time that she didn't realize. She was feeling guilt. She didn't have the language to say, I feel guilty, Mommy. She did, however, notice that my mother didn't treat anybody else the same way that she treated her. She disparaged me by speaking to me in particular ways. She never said your mother's a this or that. Well, that came later when my daughter was little. She treated me in ways that left that flavor behind. She spoke to my daughter's step-grandfather in ways that were very disrespectful and ugly. Is that good role modeling of behavior for a young child who is learning primarily through observation? No. She was treating my daughter's little brother like he didn't exist. My daughter felt guilty about that. She couldn't understand why she only liked my daughter. So it was confusing. Anyhow, on and off in the relationship, there would be spaces in time where we had a relationship, and spaces in time where I didn't speak to her at all. And it all came to a head when my eldest was 6 and my youngest was 2 and change. What did I tell my children when my mother was in and out and then finally out? Well, I told them what they needed to know when they asked me questions. Where's Grandma? Why don't I get to see Grandma? Unfortunately, Grandma isn't very good to Mommy, and because of that, she's not a very healthy, safe person, and we can't be in a relationship with her right now. That's what I told my eldest daughter in the beginning, because I never anticipated it lasting 30 years. As time went on and some situations occurred, it became very clear that this estrangement was heading into some permanence. And then over time, the answer changed. I know that you love Grandma. I know that you have fun with Grandma, acknowledging that she had a connection to her that was positive. Unfortunately, what you see and what you don't see are two different things. Grandma isn't a healthy, safe person for our family. Eventually, when my children got older and they asked different questions, Grandma hurt Mommy when she was a little girl, and we were not able to fix that because Grandma is still very hurtful towards Mommy. And that's what was explained. My children don't have abandonment issues because they have solid parents who would never abandon them. I know. There's that importance factor. The most important people in a child's life are their parents, even if they're bad ones. They're the most important people. And they're the people that children build their self-esteem from or not, depending on what the situation is. To your question, what happens when they get older? Who do they hold responsible? I think my eldest daughter held me responsible, but not in an angry way, more like, that sucked. And I would have liked to have my grandmother, because in her little child mind, her grandmother was fun, right? When she became a young adult, she entered a relationship with my mother. I knew about it. She was a young adult. I grew her up. I had faith in her to make good decisions. I knew she wouldn't be influenced in terms of how she viewed the world from my mother, because she had like her role modeling in place during her developmental ages and stages. So I knew that she wasn't going to be changed by my mother. You know, she wasn't going to learn lessons about behaviors that were unacceptable being normalized and all of that stuff. So I didn't like it. I wasn't worried about it. And we had a boundary. And the boundary was, she didn't share my mother's life with me. And she didn't share my life with my mother. And imagine that, like having boundaries that were no problem to respect. I did tell her that if something happens and she needs to talk about something in relationship to my mother, that side of the family, we had very open communication in our household, that I'm 100,000% there when she needs me, whatever she needs. Guess what happened? She was never angry at me. She was never resentful at me or her father for removing my mother. And ultimately, she herself, with zero input from me or her father, removed my mother. And do you want to know why? Because she said to my mother, everybody is not talking to my mom, meaning me. And it's because of you. And that's not fair, because my mother didn't do anything wrong. And I need you to stand up to the family, take ownership of what you did, and help my mom have her family, because she deserves to have one. And my mother, it was on FaceTime. Do you know what she did? Let me show you what she did. I'll just show you. Ready? So they're on FaceTime. And she's trying to have this heartfelt talk with my mother. My mom shouldn't be alone without a family, just to recap. And do you want to know what my mother did? And that's the last time my daughter spoke to her. I don't know if you'll see this video. I will not tag you. I don't want to throw any, hate your way, have people barraging your comments or anything like that. This isn't about being, creating more division. This is about creating more understanding, and maybe having some other grandparent out there think, okay, I don't get to have a relationship with my grandchildren if I can't find a way to heal my relationship with my adult children. I want you to remember that little kids particularly are watching how the adults interact. And if you can't find a way to be a safe, caring, kind, not nice, kind person to your own adult child, then you are not entitled to have a relationship with your grandchild, because you're not role modeling healthy, loving behavior. That's it. That's all.